We're going to be talking today about relationship filters, how we use them, and why do we use them. I've wrote down a couple of business questions that I want to talk about. We have the question of when we're trying to relate two items, but we're trying to find something or a set of data that's outside this relationship. For instance, a list of customers and associated revenue. So we want to create a report with a list of customers and their associated revenue. The condition is these customers bought item X. Okay. So notice the condition does not say the revenue for item X. Okay, it's saying the customers who bought item X, the revenue or the total revenue for customers regardless of where that revenue is coming from, whether it's from item X or other items. The simple question we generally use is the list of customers and the revenue for item X. What does this mean? This means give me the list of customers and the revenue associated with item X. This is the standard report, the standard filter. This is the advanced filter or the relationship filter. And I'll show you how a standard filter will not answer this question and only a relationship filter. There are other alternatives. I might talk about them if we get some chance at the end of this video. Okay? So let me minimize this and go to MicroStrategy. I'm going using the MicroStrategy tutorial. So the first thing is I want to create that simple filter, right? So I want to create a filter for selecting items. So I'm just going to use an attribute qualification, very simple. And I'm going to type in item. I think that's the correct, yes. And I'm just going to make it prompted because I want the user to select the item at runtime. I'm going to save this and call it choose item. Okay? This very simple filter allows the user to choose the item. Alrighty. Now, let me create a report. And what did we say? We want customers and revenue. So let's go here, add the customers to my rows. I'm right clicking on most of these just because I prefer the fast way. You could drag or you can add to rows, etc. There's multiple ways. We're not going to go into all of them. Go to metrics and let's go to sales and find my revenue metric. There it is. Then I'll double click and there it is. Revenue, customer. Let's see how the SQL is going to look like on this report, SQL view. Alright, so what are we saying? We're saying give me the customer and its forms. Also provide the revenue for this customer. So all the customers and all the revenue. It's not really what I want to do, right? We want to add a filter here. Let's use our new filter. We saved it in the reports folder. Choose item. Let's drag this guy up here. And let's regenerate and see what happens. Now we're prompted. So let's choose first three for demo purposes. I'm going to shrink my report a little. Alright. And finish. So here we go, selecting customers and revenue from order detail, joining on the lookup, and filtering. So this answers our second question, a list of customers and revenue for item X, right? Let's look at the data, see how it looks like. It's probably a lot of data. Alright, so this report, we created the list and we have 5,132 items or customers. For each customer we're showing the revenue associated with the three items that we selected in the prompt. So Warner has spent $17 on the three items that we selected. Okay? Very simple report, common usage. However, what if I wanted to see the revenue that Warner has spent in his lifetime, for instance, at the store? But I don't want all the customers, I just want the revenue for these customers who bought that item. Back to the question, the customer and the revenue who bought the item. but not the revenue associated with the item. So we're making a distinction here. The best way to demonstrate this is to create another revenue metric that is not filtered by the item. But how do you do that? You already have a filter on your report, right? You already have a filter that's choosing the item. So how can you add an item here that's going to make a difference? Well, that's where the relationship filter comes into play. Let's save and close this guy. Call him advance, or let's call him revenue report. Okay. Alright, so save this with the defaults, and let me create a relationship filter. How do we create a relationship filter? Just like any other filter, double click. It's a set qualification. Relationship is a set qualification, but you change the toggle from metric to relationship. We need an output level now. Now the question was, did we want the revenue for item X at what level? We needed it at customer level. You could have it at any level you want, but in our case, we're interested in customer. And what do we want to filter the customer? The relationship. We want the relationship based on the choose item, right? So the choose item is where, so we're choosing an item, but we want the customers who bought that item. So we need to relate it. We need, these two things are not in the same dimension. It's not like month and year. These are item, product, customer. Okay, two different dimensions. So what do I need? I relate them by a fact table. Okay, this is very critical. This is where you need to know a little bit about your data. So the order detail is where it keeps track of all items and who bought them and when and all this stuff that's important to relate items like these. So here we go. We have customer of item through an order detail table. And notice here that advance apply this qualification independently of the relationship filter. So we're going to apply it independently and see what that means, and we'll take it out later and see what that does for us. So here I'm calling it the relate filter. Okay, the relate filter. Wonderful. So I have a new filter. Now let me go here and let me go to the metrics first. Find the revenue metric that I used. Here's the revenue. I'm going to right click and copy this guy. I'm going to bring him into our work area, paste it, and what do I want to do? I want to change its conditioning such that it only will take my relationship filter in consideration. There we go. Set of customers where elements are in relate. Again, we have the option to merge the report filter into the metric or merge the condition into the report, meaning I can either take what's in the report and merge it into this metric, or take what's in the metric as a condition, merge it into the report. Let's keep everything simple. Let's keep everything by default. Okay, there's all different customizations that you can play with. Save and close. So I'm going to call this, I just modified it, I added the relate filter to this revenue metric, and let me edit my former report. Great. But this time I'm going to add this advanced revenue. That's all I'm going to do at this point, and I'm going to run this. Choose the 3 items, and I want to see how many rows. The previous one had 5,000 rows. Let's see what happens here. Great. So here's my report. It should have the same number of rows because we really didn't change the number of rows. We're still calculating the revenue for all these users. But look, the advanced revenue is the same amount as revenue. So what did we accomplish here? Pretty much nothing at this point. Because what we're saying is that we want to relate them, but remember, we have a condition on the report, choose item. we're still limiting both by this condition. So in order for me to get the benefit of this relationship filter, I might have to make a few changes. There's multiple ways to go about this, either from the metric itself or from outside, from the filter itself. So let's save and close this. Remember that condition, advanced. Apply this coefficient independently of the relationship filter. Let me uncheck it and see what it does for us. Okay, save and close. Alright, let's run this report, see what it does for us. Alright, so finally got the revenue to be different. So what happened here, when we removed that condition, that relationship between this metric condition and the condition on the report, this was able to operate separately, pull the revenue for these users or customers that bought the item X, or the 3 items in our. So this revenue is showing us the revenue associated for the 3 items we selected, and this one's showing you all the revenue for these users, the relationship or the customer. The relationship here was enabling us to only filter by customers who bought those 3 items, but show us the revenue for the customers for all items, not just those 3 items. This is very important to understand. Let's look at the SQL and see how this trick or the SQL manipulation works. In a pass, we have give us the customers who bought 1, 2, 3. Straightforward. We also have give us the customers and their revenue who bought 1, 2, 3. That is the first revenue column. But then we're saying, okay, give us the customers who, give us a new list of customers and their revenue, and join the customer ID on the temporary table 000, which is the first one, on the customers who bought those items 1, 2, 3. So here we have a list of customers who bought the items, a list of customers who bought the items and their revenue for those items, and then the list of customers, their revenue for those customers who bought those items. Notice the customers who bought the items, but there's no filter, there's no where clause on item ID 1, 2, 3. So this revenue is not filtered by 1, 2, 3, but it is joined on the list of customers who bought 1, 2, 3, items 1, 2, 3. Notice this revenue is also filtered by 1, 2, 3. This revenue is not filtered by 1, 2, 3, but the join in essence is doing the filtering, because it's doing it up here and it's saying give me the customers who bought 1, 2, 3, but it's not making the condition on the revenue. And then put everything together, you get the 2 columns next to each other, and everything starts looking beautiful. And here the lookups are pulling in the different information that we needed for this report, and our report now is doing what we expected it to do by pulling 2 columns next to each other, each one filtering differently. Okay, and that's thanks to the relationship filter. It allows us to do something like this. Okay, close this, save it and close it. Just wanted to point out one quick thing. Some people like to create a relationship in a different way, using the relationship, the report as a filter. The way they do that, you create a new report. Okay, you would create a new report. You would in essence, you're rebuilding the relationship filter, but you're manually building it by putting the customer, which is the level in our case, and putting the filter, which is the item selecting here. However, here's the trick. You need to add a metric here to allow this filter and this level to see each other. So you would go, and in this case we know what metric we're going to use. It's obviously the the revenue metric, which we used, or any other metric that allows us to join on the order detail. This is where it gets tricky, because you need to make sure that you're actually adding a metric. You're actually adding a metric that allows this join to make sense. So if this join does not make sense, this adding another metric will, you just can't just add any metric. So let me show you the SQL. What does that translate into? 1, 2, 3, for instance, and finish. So here is the condition 1, 2, 3, and the revenue. Notice that this is the revenue in that second pass of SQL from our advanced report. That second pass of SQL that we created in our revenue report would look just like this, minus the lookups, because we do the lookups in the final pass, or MicroStrategy does the lookup in the final pass, but otherwise it'll have the customer ID, it'll have the sum of the revenue, and it'll be filtered by this item. Okay, so here, by creating a relationship filter, a report, we are bypassing the need of a relationship filter. And what would we do here? We'd save this report, and I call it my intermediate report. Okay, and we'd save it as prompted, etc. Close it. There it is. And now I can create a new filter based on this report, a shortcut to a report. And I'll go in my report. We saved it as a SQL. Sometimes my intermediate, I prefer to save them as SQL because we don't really use them. There it is, my intermediate report, save and close. And I'm going to call it my report as filter. Okay. And I'm going to take my advanced revenue, and you're going to start seeing where the problem is going to come from here in a second, how this is a little bit tricky. So I'm going to call it report as filter for revenue. Okay, I change the condition, so I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to go to my reports. My report as a filter is my new condition. Double click, and let me save and close. Okay, let me go and edit this and add our new metric into this mix and see what happens. Okay, new metric. Okay, sometimes it won't let me drag. I have to do this again. Or there we go. So dragging sometimes works. Sometimes you just gotta click back and forth a few times. Let's see if this is gonna give us an error or it's gonna run. 1, 2, and 3. Finish. See what happens. Might take a little bit longer. We're adding more complexity. Alrighty. Notice what happened. The new metric is producing the same data as the revenue metric because it's a relationship as a filter. So what that in the relationship filter we had the option, in the relate filter we had the option of removing the dependency. So in order to separate the filtering. But how do we do it in a report as a filter? Do we have that option? We don't have that option. So let's look at the metric itself. And if you notice in the condition here we have an advance. So it's saying merge the report into the metric, and we don't want that, right? Merge the condition into the report. We don't want that either. Merge into new. You can merge it into a new report or a new pass. But keep the merge into new, save and close, and let's rerun this guy after we save and close. Let's see what it does for us. One, two, three. Notice we're still struggling, it's still not allowing us to do much with this, because this does not allow us to disable the relationship, or control the relationship. But notice what I do this. Let me edit my report. Let me remove this on the report. Okay. Now everything start looking a lot different than we're used to. Now we don't have, the report does not filter. Notice everything changes and they're matching this advance. So what we're doing here in essence is that we create a report as a filter for revenue, but we really got little out of it. It's simply creating a separate pass, but it's not allowing us to separate the filtering between one pass and another. And that's where the relationship as a filter comes in really handy. There are ways to customize this metric to allow it to operate the same way as a relationship filter, but we're not going to go into that much level. I just wanted to show you the difference between a report as a filter, an advanced revenue, and a advanced relationship filter. How one has more control on the data that you can pull in and differentiate it from the rest of the report versus the report as a filter. And by that, I will conclude this session. Thank you very much.